Good afternoon, good evening from wherever in the world you are tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to hear us out with River and Lottie. We got River.
Hey, I'm River.
Or depending on how you're watching.
The angle.
And me, Lottie. And you have tuned in to the Music and Media Blueprint for all types of rising professionals.
Yes, we're here. We're here to provide the vibes. Shout out to everyone that's joining us live. Shout out to everyone that's listening to this, watching this later. We appreciate you. You could be anywhere on a Sunday, but you're here.
You could be anywhere. And here you are for episode 4. Today we'll be discussing the power of networking, unlocking opportunities, and building connections.
I love the commercial. And
gotta do it. Gotta do a little jig. Everyone loves a little jig.
You know the vibes. You know the vibes. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Yeah.
Lottie, I know, Lottie, you have to kick us off on this because networking, you be in your networking bag, sis.
It's so fun. People always say that they're like, you're the networking queen. And I'm like, I just be talking to people. Networking. Yeah, it's funny. I think first and foremost, it's like, what is networking, right? Networking obviously is being able to build relationships with people in such a way that ideally, mutually, you are helping each other achieve your desired goals. For me, it's really just kind of like making a new friend or acquaintance. I don't really make it into this big, deep philosophical thing. It's like, hey, I'm Lottie. I do this. So I work in this field. I work with these people, or I'm looking to do these things. How about yourself? And that's really it. I think it's something that's actually way simpler than people make it out to be. And so it is interesting when there's like a lot of like apprehension and whatever else about it. And I think if you're like ultimately like very nervous or very apprehensive, it's because of like your frame of mind more so than who the person is. Because a lot of times it's like, especially if you're networking up versus across, hello, Issa Rae. It's like, you're like, oh, this person can make or break my life or career. But who's to say that you can't also impact them in a really great way too? And beyond that, also, it's about realizing like, again, it's not just about what they can do for you. Actually, more importantly, sometimes it's like, what can you do for them, right? It's like, why is it worthwhile for them to connect with you as well? Mm-hmm. So just perspective. It's all about perspective when it comes to networking, honestly.
Yeah, no.
I think also a better phrase for networking is really relationship building, because that's what it is, right? It's not about how many people do I have in my network, how much money do they make, who do they know, what can they do? It's just like, okay, who are they? What can we do together? Why do I care to build a relationship with this person? It's like, it's literally relationship building.
No, I love that. I love that you reframed it as relationship building. I think that's super cool. I was actually having a conversation with one of my homegirls, Samai, the other day, like 2 weeks ago. We were talking on Twitter Spaces, and she said, at the end of the day, it's just one person talking to another person.
Literally, it's literally it.
If you're a good person, if you're a decent person, you just gonna, I was personally raised, you treat the janitor the same way you treat the CEO. So I'm gonna just chop it up. You know what I'm saying? I don't really necessarily care so much about numbers, notoriety, all that different stuff. Like, we're just people having an interaction, trying to build some form of a relationship and figuring out where the overlap is and how we can be working together. So I love that. I love that you reframed it as relationship building. So I think that's super important. I feel like when you take the title away from certain things, and it makes it feel a little less daunting. I feel like networking, for the introverts out there, I'm an ambivert. Like, people think I'm incredibly extroverted, but I am incredibly
ambivert gang.
I am an ambivert, truly. Like, I am so introverted at the same time, and I'm a very private person too. So like, for me, when it comes to networking, sometimes I get super overwhelmed, which is crazy because I'm an actor. So I'm used to being, on a stage and having people listening and looking and all that different stuff. But when it comes to networking, like, sometimes just the word networking, I'd be like, however, I do it all the time. I have to do it. I just got to roll up my sleeve. Okay, we're going out here.
Right.
We're going to talk to people. We're going to make it happen. Right. But I love that you took the title of networking off of it and you were like, yo, it's just relationship building at the end of the day, because that makes it seem a little less, scary or intimidating or whatever the case may be. Because at the end of the day, like you said, just building relationships, just talking, just having a conversation, getting to know another person and seeing how you guys can forge any type of relationship, personal, professional, whatever the case may be. That's super valid. I love that.
And I think it's also understanding that it takes time, right? I think sometimes people are like, oh, I met this person today, like, I gotta make sure that this, that, and the third is happening and they know who I am. And it's just like, just take it a step back. It's like dating. I hate that everything is compared to dating, but it really is. It's like, you're not going to get married tomorrow, right? It's like, hey, what's your name? What's your favorite color? What do you like to eat? What movies do you like to watch? It's like step by step, just getting an understanding of this person, and any relationship that's worthwhile, it's going to take time
Oh,
and effort to build.
cultivation is key.
Cultivation is key, baby. Put that on a t-shirt.
Those. Hear us out, t-shirts.
Hear us out, merch.
On the back. Where we at? No, I'm just playing. But we're not. We'll see. Coming soon. No, but cultivation really is key. Like, I feel like you have to cultivate those relationships, especially professional relationships. I think when it comes to networking or relationship building in this case, how we reframed it, not necessarily always going into every single thing thinking about what can you get from somebody. I think when it comes to networking, there has to be it has to be a reciprocal relationship that you are trying to build. Otherwise it kind of falls flat. You and I, we go to so many conferences. Last year I was at a conference every single month in the year 2022. I was out of state I think with the exception of 2 months.
Woo!
For a conference, for something,
bandwidth,
right? And so with that though, what I learned was like, there was a lot of networking that was done, and it definitely pushed me and challenged me to step outside of my own comfort zone. But what I gathered from that was like, the cultivation of the relationship is the most important thing. Like, just meeting somebody is one thing, but how are you following up? How are you keeping that relationship going? How are you continuing to cultivate that relationship? I think sometimes people feel like networking is like, oh, I met you, so now I can ask for things, or like, oh, I met you, so now let me ask for a favor type of thing.
Oh, I gotta follow back. Like, something really bad.
It's a little bit more than that. Like, you have to, first of all, it's on a case-by-case basis. Like, not every human being is the same. So how you foster a relationship with every single person is not going to be the same. Heck, when I think about it, like, my relationship with my mom and my dad are different. And we were in the same household for a large portion of my life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, every relationship has to be cultivated different. You can't just put an expectation on something just because you met somebody, because sometimes people, especially depending on the level of notoriety, like you were talking about networking up, sometimes people who recognize that they may have, leverage that other people could benefit from, they're a little more cautious about how they make themselves available. And so you kind of have to cultivate that relationship a little bit more before they even feel comfortable enough to, going back to our referral recommendation conversation, before they even feel comfortable enough to like do or give anything. Like, they kind of need to know what they're putting on the line. Like, they need to get to know you. Like you said, the dating example, it works here. So I definitely would say cultivation is key when it comes to like relationship building and networking. For sure, you got to really build that up before you just start, okay, so this is what I need you to do for me. Maybe, if it's going to be that, maybe it could be, here's what I can do for you, and in return, here's what you can do for me, type of thing. But at least try and like cultivate some form of a conversation, at least know the person's first and last name before you walk away and hit them up to ask for something later,
Yeah, like let's talk about that. Because so here's the thing with networking, right? Especially like now that we're in the age of social media and like a digital world. And we saw this a lot with during the pandemic and also post-pandemic life. It's like a lot of things are now forged online. So like networking IRL works differently than networking URL. So let's like maybe touch on some of those distinctions and like the ideal ways to kind of go about it.
I think that networking in person, and I guess I was just kind of touching on what I was kind of touching on right just previously, was more so about networking in person, because
Mm-hmm.
like when you meet a person, like when you meet somebody in person, and given where you are, right? So like, I
Right.
think the most important thing to consider networking in person versus online is like, if you're networking in person, time and place is everything. And I think sometimes people feel like every single thing is a networking opportunity, and it can be, but sometimes depending on who you're trying to network with, time and place. So for example, if I'm at a concert and I'm sitting, in more expensive seats, so there's other, maybe celebrities around me or high profile individuals that are probably just there to just take a load off, have a good time and enjoy themselves. I'm not going to necessarily assume this is a networking opportunity per se. Obviously,
Oh,
big proponent,
reading the room.
but read the room is key.
Reading the
Like
room.
really just be there chilling. Sometimes it's not a business moment for them. Sometimes it's like, this is my one night off. I'm not shooting right now, or I'm not in this. I'm taking whatever the case may be, and they may just be burnt out from networking. So you may
You
not
know
even
what's
get
so
the best reaction
interesting?
from them either.
You know what I'm realizing from what you're saying is that like not every time might actually even be the time to network a
It's
little
not. It's
bit.
not. Not. But at the same time, I don't feel like that's universal either, because I do feel like there is value. You never know. You know what I'm saying?
You
I'm
never know. But
definitely a
that
person.
reading the room is key because like the first impression, it matters so much. And if like it's kind of just like, you know how sometimes I remember this one time I saw this tweet of this A&R who had said like she had said some either her artist was injured or something like that, and people were like posting links under that tweet like, can you check out my music? And it's like, dog.
Bro, I talk about
Like
no, no. I talk about this so much. I talk about this so much. Like
it's like, oh,
getting the
hope he good,
humanity
but
of other
my beats is
people.
fire.
You cannot forget the humanity and other. You can't be so focused on your target that you're missing the immediate, like, now it's not the time for this. You gotta read the room. Like every time, every moment. And I don't know. I feel like that's, people call that being an opportunist. And it's true. Every
Time
moment
and
is not a moment
place.
of, like, opportunity to try and like I just feel like you gotta remember too that like people that are in power, high profile celebrities in general, high decision makers, CEO, stuff like that.
They're people at the end of the day,
They're
and at
people
the
at the end
beginning
of
of
the
the day.
day, and they be burnt out just like the rest of us. They're constantly
And they
working.
go through stuff. It's like if someone's like being vulnerable enough to share on social media that they're going through something, maybe then it's not the time to post your SoundCloud link. Maybe.
Like that example you gave took me out.
Girl,
It took me out.
like I was like, wait, did y'all read the tweet?
No, because they were only focused on the opportunity, right? And
Whew.
the
Like, listen, I believe in shooting my shot as much as the next person, but
too.
time and place. Time and place.
But back to the IRL versus online. I think, to our point, number one, read the room. Like that's super important. And that's online. We just gave an online example and an in-person example. You know what I'm saying? If you're out and you see a high profile person and they may be just chilling on their own, self-care vibe or something like that, it may not be the time to just try and network, but maybe just, if you want to give salutations or congratulations or whatever, cool. But maybe don't try your elevator pitch at the spa. I don't know. Time and place. Same thing here. Like if someone tweets out they're going through something, maybe now's not the time to shoot your shot. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's definitely something that is super important when it comes to whether you're networking online or in person. I think the online part though, we talked about this when we talked about sliding into people's DMs and stuff like that. Having tap.
Yeah, so whoever caught episode 1, in some ways, this is like an extension of that too, because it's just like the impression that you make online versus IRL is very different. But either way, you really only get one shot to make it. The interesting thing about online is that it's documented, right? So when you send that DM or an email, that's forever. Like that's there. IRL, like if you change your hair up or something the next time, they might not recognize it was you if you really
That
crumble it back.
That is me. My experience in Web3 is constantly reintroducing myself to the same people because I changed my hair a lot.
You do be changing and it be looking good every time, her. But
Exactly.
you do be. Whereas me, I feel like I literally always look like this. So they're like, Lottie. I'm like, yes,
It's
hair,
smart.
glasses,
It's
hello.
smart. It's smart. No, you're smart. You're smart.
This is my uniform. Hair, glasses, nails, and
but it's recognizable when it comes to
jacket.
networking. They know. They know. They know. It works. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We'll talk about that in future episodes, branding.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah, no, I agree with that though. I do agree. Like that online presence, yeah, it's and it's there. I feel like people forget that part. Like when you shoot your shot in somebody's DMs, and if you don't come correct that first time, so then they leave on red.
You just gotta have a whole new identity, like on a different account.
Then when you come back and DM them later, it's gonna remind them that you came at them crazy the first time.
Right, so, right. And also it's like I think the interesting thing about networking is kind of like the approach, right? And this also comes down to sometimes doing your research because and sometimes you got to do it right on the spot. Like there's sometimes I'll see someone that I know from Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't even know how to, introduce myself. Like I could always be like, hey, I'm Lottie, but I'd rather kind of hit them with some specifics. I'll do a quick search, be like, yo, what's the most recent tweet, the most recent post? And a lot of times people are talking about themselves on their own social media. So then I'll be like, oh, they were a Billboard power player or this, that, and the third. And so when I walk up to them, be like, yo, congrats on X, Y, and Z. When you hit somebody with a congrats the first time you meet them,
do your research.
Especially if it's like IRL, 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, oh, damn. Like you really like was paying attention. That's as opposed to, hi, I'm an artist. Can you sign me or whatever it is?
But I think that's a good tip for when you're networking up. Shout out to Issa. When you're networking up, meaning you're networking to someone who's in a higher position and you're trying to like level yourself or whatever the goal or objective is, like it's super important to do your research. But when you're cross networking, so like, in the same wheelhouse, same level experience as you, I think it's cool too to just know what's going on in that person's life. Like if somebody just had a baby, before you come and be like, hey bro, let me congratulate them. Yo, shout out to you and your family. Congratulations on it. Like just remember the event. I feel like the bottom line for this entire episode is remember the humanity of people when it's relationship building. Remember that they're human beings at the end of the day. They have whole lives too, just like you do. And it doesn't always have to be transactional. Like networking isn't always supposed to be.
I would argue that most of the time it probably shouldn't be transactional, depending on, because like also when it's supposed to be business, like,
obviously,
right?
Yeah.
When it's personal, again, it's just like reading the room. That's probably the most important skill that a person can have when it comes to like interpersonal relationships. It's like knowing when to talk about a certain thing versus not a certain thing, knowing when to speak versus when not to speak, knowing how to approach versus how to approach a different way. It's like read the room and it'll dictate everything. And also in this same vein of networking up versus networking across, again, gotta shout out to Issa because that has been like the most used phrase ever. Is like the frequency of doing one versus the other. I really think that you should network across probably 10 times as much as you network up. Let
me tell you why Lottie is correct on this. So for y'all that know me or don't know me, like my background is in the entertainment industry. So I'm an actor first, but I took the corporate entertainment route to elevate my career and actually understand the business of the industry. So everyone knows on the entertainment side and TV film, there's the mailroom experience, there's all those different things. The benefit to networking across, what is that? What did she say? Cross laterally? I forgot what she said, but it was really fire how Issa said.
Laterally, yeah.
Yeah, the benefit to that is that networking laterally allows for you to meet the same like people that are in your age range, in your whatever your level of experience, but as they grow with you, y'all are each growing into something. So for example, when I was at UTA, if I'm networking with all of the freaking assistants that are at Netflix, and I'm networking with all of the assistants at Interscope, and I'm networking with all of the assistants at ABC, those assistants that are at Netflix are going to when they get promoted, they're going to be getting promoted to executive at the same time that, you know, someone at UTA would have been promoted to agent at the same time that somebody at Interscope would have been promoted to A&R at the same time that somebody at HBO would have been promoted to a producer. You know what I'm saying? So at that point now you've networked laterally, so y'all are growing together. Now you have, when you need to start making those major calls, all right, wait a minute, I got this client that needs to be in this movie or this TV show, I got this director that I want to do my artist music video, like whatever the case may be. It's a simple call because y'all came up together. I think people underestimate the value of networking laterally because they always want to be with the people that are at the top. But sometimes you got to recognize that the people that are with you, the same way you're aiming to be at the top, if you're around the right people, they're aiming to be at the top too. And y'all going to be at the top together, and you're going to need them to be able to call them to be able to keep doing business. So it's important to just, I feel like the don't like this number stuff on social media got people bet straight up.
And you want to know the funniest part about that too? If you look at a lot of the people that are at the top, they too were at the bottom together. So it's like you're trying to reach out to people that already got they people.
They have
get your people too.
The people at the top, they're all mingling with people that they came up with, which means they've been rolling together for decades. The best thing you could do is not that you don't network with them, definitely network with them because you need to know them too. But it's like the best thing you could do is start cultivating those decade-long friendships so that when y'all are all in the positions that you're aspiring to be in, y'all could really be helping to amplify and support each other. Like, and don't underestimate, please, when it comes to this networking stuff, y'all, do not underestimate a person if they have only 1,000 followers. I'm gonna tell you something right now.
Oh, now we still caring about follower count. Do we still care about follower count?
We don't care about follower count. Now, girl, done.
I'll tell you something. I don't. There are people who I follow
the
who
most
have
powerful
like
ones that got 100 followers
that are like platinum. Like I don't care about like follower count. Please be real.
Come on.
I don't care about follower count. I don't care about verification. I don't care about credits in the bio. If you have those things, great.
Great.
That's not why I'm connecting with anyone.
Decision makers, a lot of times they be moving low. So they be having like a couple thousand followers.
A lot of important people, especially like on Instagram, they're like private. They don't even want people knowing.
Don't be in my business.
like a lot of these like playlist curators and music supervisors and whichever else, they have like private accounts. Like they don't even want.
Because what is the point?
People working at agencies, they don't. So it's not even about follower count at all.
Yeah. So remember that when someone, because you never know. I say that to say you never know when someone is trying to network with you. And don't let that. I know it's hard because it's like, well, how else am I supposed to verify that this person is what they are? This, that, and the third. Man, there's a lot of ways that you could do that other than social media. That's all I can say. And a lot of people that like social media isn't the be all end all. So I hope that if y'all take away anything from this conversation is just understanding A, the humanity in other people, and B, don't judge a book by its cover. Treat everyone equally. That helps in networking the most. Because I've seen it. I've seen those instances where the networking happens in reverse. You know, we all hear those stories where I'm trying to think of which rapper was just talking about it. I mean, apart from Kanye, but like we all hear those stories where, you know, they be like, yeah, I was coming up and I kind of was ignored. And now I'm at the top. Oh, Blast is a good one. And now I'm at the top and it's like, my phone can't stop ringing. But before I couldn't get nobody to pick up. You know, you got to be cognizant of that when it comes to networking too. Like don't underestimate the underdog, if you will.
Right. Yeah, I think especially with the rise of social media, it's more obvious now than ever that anybody can come up at any time. But also like, don't let that be the motivation for talking to people. I think it really should come from the place of they're a decent person, I'm a decent person. As long as their approach isn't crazy, like, you know.
Yeah.
Don't be weird. Don't be Hollywood.
So wait, let's talk about, don't be Hollywood. Let's talk about some of the like hacks of networking. Like what are some of the things that you do network? Because you do a really good job networking online. Like,
what again, this is so funny to hear this because I don't even feel like I'd be network. I just be talking to people. Like I really think the biggest quote unquote hack is like, don't make it a thing. I will at anybody. Like whether it's like,
I promise you, y'all should stop right now. and go follow Lottie on all social media, she's literally not kidding.
So
Especially on LinkedIn. I'd be
so
like,
for
you better
instance,
go.
if you follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn, or actually I posted this on every social media, even Lens, which is like a Web3 social protocol. But it's like, there was this one time where I had seen that Diddy had
Oh God, I know what you.
Sean Combs had a LinkedIn page, and a lot of times people be making these fake LinkedIn pages for celebrities, and there's no like verification really on LinkedIn. So I was like, is this Diddy? And I added him on Twitter. Why? He responded, yes.
She posted.
I was like, hold on. And it was just, and but the funny thing is, like, I didn't even see the response. People were DMing me like, Diddy responded to you. I was like, oh.
We be on here kicking, y'all.
And then I had to make, you know how they say everything is content. I had to make a post about it on LinkedIn and on Instagram, being like, y'all, I'm working with Diddy in this life. And I am. I am. What is going to happen? We going to have an episode about that too. But yeah, like I said, like, and it wasn't no thing. I literally I just did it because I was like, well, somebody going to tell me if it's him or not. And some people were like, that's not him. And he himself was like, that's me. So sometimes it's just a tag.
The story is just have a conversation. Just treat people like people.
There was no strategy, right? It was just like,
no, I rock with it.
You gotta say.
I respect it for sure. I respect it. Like, there's no planning to it. There's no, I'm just being me. I'm just chilling. I'm just being.
And that's the thing. Like, I understand being calculated and being strategic, but sometimes you're creating all these expectations and doing all these things. Just talk to the person. There doesn't have to be like a goal and an agenda every time saying hello. Granted, don't just DM hello, because then it's like, okay. But like, you know, like it's all about like the circumstances, just assessing the circumstances and kind of going from there. What about you? What's your like?
No, actually, it's funny that you asked me that. I mean, I asked you that, and now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm actually pretty much the same way. And I think I will say I'm biased because I worked in corporate Hollywood. So I've always been around celebrities my whole career. From after college, once I came back to LA, I've only been around celebrities. So, you know, I say that to say no flex, because I really don't like talking about it. But I say that to say, because of that, I had to learn quick. Like, you don't get to be, you don't like, we're told not to be, oh my God, like we can't do that because we just can't. It's not professional. So I never, because of that and working it so long, so many years, I don't do that. Like, I can't, like, oh my God. Now, are there people that I do feel like that about? Like, if I meet Tim's, I'm probably going to pass out. I don't know what's going to happen.
Really? So, and then me being Nigel, I'm like, cousin, that's literally.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Like, I might pass out. I don't know. But when, you know what I'm saying? So because of that, I think that has changed my entire perspective across the board. Like, when I see people, especially celebrities, even when stuff is going on, I'm like, you're just another treat them like a human being, because everybody's treating people like they're not. You know, everybody is trying to figure out the next opportunity. Everybody's trying to figure out how somebody can help them move the needle forward. And so I think I do actually relate to what you just said when it comes to networking, and just try to just be chill, like, just not really, I don't know, I don't really think about it too much. I kind of just do my thing. And on the days where I'm introverted, I just chill. Like, I literally will just chill, and I'll just be observing, and, you know, will like kind of pop in and out of conversations, maybe not be leading them in that capacity, but for the most part, because I had to work in that for so long, I'm like my brain is trained to not do anything other than just treat people like humans, because I had to. You know?
A lot of what you just said is made me realize, like, if for people who are trying to be like strategic networking, a lot of times people are also trying to network with the wrong people. If you're trying to get to like Beyonce, maybe tagging Beyonce on Instagram or Twitter is not the way to get like, sometimes you need to go kind of like the roundabout way, or figure out who the team members are. A lot of times people's team members are relatively active on social media, And maybe there's something that you can offer to them or do for them that can make them more inclined to help you with whatever you're trying to do in regards to that celebrity that they know. That's something to keep in mind as well, right? Because it's like, you know, maybe it's like, okay, like I can't get in touch with Beyonce, but I can get in touch with like her A&R or like, you know, a producer who works there. Maybe that producer is just looking for loops.
But
Send
again, it has to be
loops,
reciprocal.
you know? So it's like,
you can't just like, I feel like that's the most important part when it comes to the relationship building is like, it's important to when you're if you're going to employ strategy, it is important to know, you know, like what your goals are, but it has to be reciprocal. Otherwise, it's just not a fair dynamic. And I
it
don't
just
believe
has to make sense too,
like
right? It's like if I know Beyonce's producer, I'm not gonna be like, can you get me an autograph? It's like, because what's that? Like, what? Give me a lock of her hair. Like, it has to make sense.
Wow, yeah, you gave the stalkerish examples. Yes, it has to make sense. It does have to make sense. It does. It has to be reciprocal. It can't just be expecting for people to pour into your cup, but there's nothing like that's just not a fair dynamic. I don't know.
And again, and also if you're networking up, like there is a little bit more strategy at play there because again, like those people are maybe busier than you, they have more at stake than you. So again, like what are you going to do to be able to get their attention in such a way that every other person who is tagging them or DMing them won't, right?
Yeah. No, that's valid. That's valid. That's valid. That actually makes me think too, like, um, when it comes to just standing out or making your presence known or whatever, we talked about this when we chatted before we jumped on, but like, I want to give an example of something that I was like, I learned this little like hack, if you will, which was really cool from one of the homies, crypto politician Jamar. He was talking it was either at a conference, I saw him talking on a panel, or he was talking in a Twitter space or Clubhouse, something. And he was talking about how when he networks, he will ask the person that he has now met, like, yo, is it cool if we take a selfie? And then he'll take a selfie with them and he'll text them the selfie as well as his contact so that he kind of can control, you know, how much information they have, number one, but number two, also them remembering him. Like, okay, I make my contact card so I can provide the information that I know a person will need to remember who I am, but then also that picture so that when they look back at it later, it's like, oh yeah, I remember you from that event and blah blah blah. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially for me, like my name is River, which is a different name, but it's spelled not the normal way. So sometimes I feel like
The Nile is a river in Egypt. Sorry.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes I feel like no, for real, I'm dead. No, but
TikTok might go, but that sound will never leave me.
it will never. No, but I follow up with people sometimes, and they'll be like because they saw it in writing different than how it sounded. I guess they're like, wait, who are you? And then I'm like, well, dang, I can't just send random selfie. That's weird. But if I had a picture with you and it's both of us, then it's like, oh yeah, I remember you. We met at the dinner, or we met at the the conference or at the top, whatever the case may be. So I did want to make sure that I shared that hack. Shout out to Jamar, because that one I was like, ooh, that's fire. And it works. I've seen it work in practice so many times from so many different people. People have done it to me where they'll send me the picture.
Yeah,
and I'm
no,
like,
people have done that to me.
that's who you are. Because
but you know, the interesting thing about this, and this could work for social too, but I love the fact that he says text specifically, because that means he's basically getting phone numbers every time. He's not going like, what's your Instagram, right? Because I think a lot of times nowadays, people are kind of afraid to ask for phone numbers, so they default to like, oh, what's your IG, or what's your, a lot of times I kind of just ask like, what's your preferred way of connecting? Because I don't want to assume you want to give me a phone number or a social.
Instagram,
sometimes they want to give you everything, right? So people will tell you, oh, take my number, or take down my email, or I only use Telegram, or this and that and the third, and that's kind of how you get in touch. Because ideally you want to use their most preferred method.
And we were talking about this too. This is something that I have found interesting as of late, because I've been networking so much. I feel like I've been networking now that I'm on my entrepreneurial journey. I had to network a lot working in the entertainment industry, period. That's just the name of the game. But now I feel like I've been networking, I guess, a little more targeted, because I am like doing it for myself and it's on me more now. And so one of the things that I've been noticing too is like what people ask me for, because I'm like, oh, okay. They'll be like, can I get your number? Or they'll say, can I get your Instagram? And what I'm noticing is like, when people ask me for my number, they genuinely are trying to hit me up because they want the direct access to me. They want to actually follow up and be like, can we work together, or can we consult, or whatever the case may be. And then some people on Instagram, it's like, oh, I just kind of want to stay up to date on your journey, not necessarily want to really meet, or,
Very real.
you know?
Very real, yeah. Because some people are trying to get to the business, like let's get coffee or let's have a meeting. Some people are just like, I kind of just want to know what your deal is.
Yeah.
And both are valid. Like there's none more correct than the other, but that's a great point on the distinction between getting a phone number and an email versus getting an Instagram or
I think
Twitter.
the intention behind it, because it's like when you get the phone number, why would you get a number if you don't plan to actually, like, hit a person up? Getting on somebody's social media. I have a lot of people that I have networked with, especially like working on sets and stuff, like where we get each other's social media, and it's really cool because I'm like, okay, now we see each other like doing all our things, and that's super fun. And I'll comment like, hey, what's up? That's tight. That's fire.
Yeah,
And
though
like,
I will say
each other's network, but not.
I love the social media to phone number or email pipeline. Like
Mhm.
I really do, because sometimes you see someone's activity and you're like, oh wow, like a lot of what they're talking about actually really resonates with me. Like I want to connect one-on-one with this person. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when you get a phone number direct, you can't always assess everything outside of that. Because a lot of times people's names are not their at and things like that. So sometimes the socials, the phone number pipeline is that girl. Depends. It all depends.
Is that girl? I'm dead. No, yeah, for sure. Let's check if we have any. Do we have any
Questions.
What's going on? Let's see. What's popping out in the social? We always be singing, y'all.
Yeah, I can't help it.
But for all of y'all, shout out to everybody that's joining us right now. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them. But y'all know we don't belabor it. So if there aren't any, we're good for. Oh, wait, did you want to talk about the importance of following up when you make a new networking connection?
Oh, yeah, let's get into that. If we don't have any questions, yeah, we could touch on that real quick. Follow-up is arguably one of the most important aspects of networking, because if you don't actually follow up, then that connection kind of just gets lost in the wind amongst like the hustle and bustle of everything that's happening, right? Because, and the thing is, a lot of times, depending on how you go about networking. So for instance, I just got back from South by last week, and that was,
Y'all heard it.
I was there for a whole week, right? It's my first time going. And there's people I'm still following up with, right? Because like you get so many phone numbers, you get so many emails, you get so many Instagram sent there. And I'm a big fan of screenshotting. As soon as I get a new contact, I screenshot, because that tells me this is a new connect that I have to connect with. And once I do connect with them, I delete the screenshot. And that's like my method. Like some people, they have all different types of ways of doing it. I've seen people have like the notes app, and they'll have everyone kind of have their contact in there so they can make sure they're keeping track. There's different types of ways of going about it. If you are really about it, you'll make a spreadsheet. We love spreadsheets. I like spreadsheets. I'm a Virgo.
What's the heck? Oh, wait. So you mean like, so that's how you, I did that in it. I definitely did a spreadsheet of everybody that I would network with and how they type shit.
And you just update it every time you go to a thing. And so that way I know like when I met this person. But also when I follow up with them, I'll be like, hey, it was great meeting you at insert event here, right? Or even sometimes it's like the follow-up even right after you do connect with them. It's like maybe you already had a meeting and there's some sort of deliverable. Make sure you deliver, right? So it's like, hey, it's great chatting. I know we wanted to talk about this, that, and the third in 2 weeks. Like I'm looking forward to that connection. So it's really all just about making sure that you send that, hey, glad we met, or hey, glad we connected. Hey, glad we had this conversation. Hey, da-da-da, right? That's important.
What's your experience been like? Do you feel like follow-up is different when you make connections online?
Yeah, yes and no. So like basically, ideally, if you are connecting with someone online, eventually that will lead to like something like this, like a Zoom or a FaceTime or whatever. And if you're meeting someone at a conference, it'll still either end up as some sort of like coffee or lunch meeting or a Zoom or thing. So either way, you want to get to a point where you can talk one-on-one. And then
Right.
after that one-on-one, whether it's IRL or virtually, you send a little note after the fact. And then
Yeah.
from there, depending on what happens, you follow up again in like a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever, right? And again, this is also why the spreadsheet aspect is important, because we connect with so many people on so many things at so many events for so many reasons. And it's like, if you don't have a systematic way of really maintaining, for lack of a better word, your database of, it's like having a CRM, right? It's like you have a database of connections, then they kind of just go to the wayside. So something to
Oh,
keep in
it's
mind.
fire. And I think that the spreadsheet too, what I would do was like, it would be the date that I got the like coffee or drinks or whatever. I started it during the pandemic because that's when, honestly, I love the pandemic, and I really hope people don't underestimate the value of Zoom networking too, because the pandemic saved me so much money. I was still working in Hollywood, and you know, I had a really, really, really dope boss. Shout out to her. And she was like, you got to just keep networking, just keep meeting people, keep meeting people. She was really pushing the lateral networking. And the cool part about it was, I was like, oh, I can do Zoom drinks. Like, I'm about to save a killing. I am doing Zoom drinks every night. Like, let's just jump on a Zoom. It's free. I can drink water if I want to, you know what I mean? So I was like, cool, let's go. Because networking can be a lot of money when you're doing it consistently
Yeah,
in real life, in
no,
person.
very real,
Drinks
very
every,
real.
like,
And I still, dude, I'm on Zoom every day, all the time. It's like, I still do all that. So
truly. And I
that
think
that 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 didn't die with like the end of the pandemic, depending on.
no, it did not. Like, I still love to, because it's so much more efficient to just kind of like jump on a Zoom and meet somebody in that way. And then if it feels cool, you meet up in person to really do that vibe check or whatever the case may be. But I think I loved that when I was doing that, because I was doing them so frequently, I would go on my spreadsheet and I would just like put like when I met the person, where we met or whatever, what their position was and what the company was that they worked at and what their goals were. And the reason why I would do that is because I'm a big person in like my personal business models in general are kind of formed off of networking. A lot of what I try to do is kind of like connect, like try to help connect people to the resources or the other people that they may need, like whatever. And so I like to know what a person wants to do, because I'm like, shoot, if I'm doing something later on, if somebody hires me for something and I need to outsource somebody, I can go to my spreadsheet and be like, wait, who do I know that does this, this, and this? Boom,
Right.
find them. And now you can kind of double back and really utilize the networking opportunity that you have.
Mhm.
I definitely do second the spreadsheet. I actually forgot about it, and you just reminded me that I should definitely do it now that I'm more in Web3 and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
back.
Because I just feel like, and also every time on the TL, there's an opportunity. Like, so I do this thing where every month I have like threads of different types of opportunities. And sometimes, actually, the other day, a journalist friend had a tweet where she was like, hey, I'm looking for Caribbean writers that specialize in music culture. And I was like, oh, I actually like know a handful of people who are good for that. So just being able to even keep in mind, like you might not necessarily know everyone's like ethnicities or whatever, but for the most part, you know what people do and what field they're in. So if you see something that is useful to them, you can let them know or you can tag them or whatever. So Twitter actually has a really cool feature called lists.
Oh,
Essentially, those lists can be public or private, but actually most of mine are private. So I'm like, okay, who are the people I know who are in Web3? Who are the people I know who are in journalism? Who are the people I know who are in music? Who are the people I know who are A&Rs, who are managers, who are this, that, and the third? And then I kind of have categories for those things. So if I ever need to reach out to someone for something or recommend someone for something, it's all in one place. And that's the same thing you should do with your own personal CRMs as well.
no, I love that. I love that. There's a
The
lot of
Virgo,
gems dropped today. See, we
Virgo
love,
sun.
hear us out. We love hear us out.
Do we have any questions before we close?
Let's see. Let us
Anything?
see. Any questions? Any comments? Where we at with it?
We got a smart bunch.
Right? I can't see on the Twitter. Can you see on the Twitter? Is it?
Yeah, no, there's nothing on Twitter. I'm checking right now.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, look, it's Sunday. So we'll let y'all go about your lives, your weeks, but make sure you stay tuned with Hear Us Out. We'll be back again next week, same time, same place. You know where to find us with the vibes. Share with anyone who this could be helpful for. We love it. We love to see it. Anything else, Lottie?
And let us know what you want to talk about next week. Thanks for your suggestions. It's actually how we're able to decide what the topic for the next episodes are. So feel free to continue.
We love that y'all want to talk about networking.
Yeah, we could talk about that all day. But so tweet us, and we will talk to y'all.
Bye, y'all. Happy Sunday.
Peace.